We represent 21,000 health professionals in this state. And as the largest healthcare union in Oregon, we use our collective voice to raise standards for nurses and healthcare professionals to advocate for communities across Oregon. We are less than 18 hours away from the largest healthcare strike in Oregon history and the first doctor strike in Oregon. It is truly an historic event. The nearly 5,000 Providence frontline workers who are taking this action are fired up, they're ready to go, they're committed, and they're angry. Our members are angry because Providence has systematically lowered the standards of care and focused on a healthcare model that prioritizes profits over our patients. And that is why ONA members, that is not why ONA members started their career in healthcare. Our caregivers perform countless hours of physically and mentally exhausting work, caring for the most vulnerable people here in Oregon. And our members are fed up. Some have been at the bargaining table for more than 15 months and working without contracts for now more than a year. All we're asking for is Providence to be able to focus more on patient care and less time driving up profits. We want safe staffing guarantees in our contracts. We want smaller caseloads so our caregivers have more time with our patients. We want competitive wages and benefits so our caregivers can recruit and retain. We want Providence to stop cutting their healthcare benefits. And we want Providence to stop bargaining in bad faith and stop committing more unfair labor practices. We're not asking for much, but what we are asking for will improve healthcare for all Providence patients. Unfortunately, Providence executives have not stepped up for their frontline caregivers. Striking is not something we want to do, but something that is necessary because the status quo at Providence is just not acceptable anymore. But let me be clear about something. This strike could have been avoided. And frankly, there is still time, even at this 11th hour. We need Providence to stop refusing to negotiate and come back to the table. Let's reach a fair contract for all of our members, and let's stop the strike before it starts. It really is that simple. Our frontline caregivers are vital to patient care. They're the ones who make healthcare happen, and they have seen the decline in patient care standards that's been coming down from Providence executives. And that is why on Monday, December 30th, we sent Providence our 10 days notice of intent to strike to allow Providence time to prepare for the strike. This notice is required by law, and healthcare is the only sector required to give a 10-day notice. And at that point, Providence refused to bargain with us with the excuse that they needed time to prepare for the strike. But since then, they have made claims that some services will be disrupted and some facilities will be shuttered. But in the same breath, they've also told the press that they're fully prepared. They have made inconsistent and disingenuous claims about their preparedness and tried to blame the issue on frontline caregivers. They've offered to negotiate with our doctors because they're not prepared for them to strike, and went on to say that they would not negotiate with our nurses because they are prepared for them to strike. Are they too busy to negotiate? Are they not? They aren't too busy to negotiate with workers they can't replace, but they are too busy to negotiate with the workers they claim they can. This is shameful behavior, and our members and the people of Oregon deserve better. I want to be clear. Any issues at any hospitals or clinics during this strike is Providence's sole responsibility. because our members have done everything they can to settle fair contracts and to avoid this strike. Providence is a $30 billion corporation with top executives making $1 million salaries. They should be honest with Oregonians about how prepared they are for this strike. They should be at the table bargaining with us right now, and there is still time. And now I'd like to introduce Gina Ottinger, who is an emergency room nurse at St. Vincent Hospital. Gina is a member of the ONA bargaining team, and her nurses unit at St. Vincent has been working without a contract since December 31st, 2023.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gina Ottinger, and I've had the privilege of working as a night shift nurse at Providence St. Vincent Emergency Department for the past 14 years. I'm here today not just as a nurse, but as someone who is deeply invested in the health and future of nursing at St. Vincent for our patients and the dedicated staff who provide care every single day. We are now entering our 17th month of contract negotiations, and let me be clear. The issue at hand is not just about pay, it's about the future of nursing at our hospital and the quality of care we can provide to our community. St. Vincent's Hospital has been a foundation of care for this community for years, and we've all worked incredibly hard to ensure it continues to be. But right now, we're at a crossroads. Providence management has refused to offer a fair contract. They've not recognized how more complex patient care has become, and they have not acknowledged how much sicker patients are now. Their resistance to listening to us, of those of us who are on the front lines, is putting every essence of the healthcare system at risk. The strike is about far more than just wages. It's about staffing, employee healthcare, patient care, and overall working conditions. But first, I want to talk to you about wages, because Providence management likes to harp on wages in the press. We're asking for competitive compensation that reflects the reality of our work, the long hours, the emotional toll, and the ever-growing demands placed on us. We're asking for wages that keep pace with inflation. They are on par with other hospitals in our region, and that recognize our commitment to the organization. Why is this important? Because nurses and other frontline caregivers are leaving. They're leaving for better wages, better benefits, and better working conditions in neighboring hospital systems. If Providence wants to retain the experienced talent we work so hard to recruit and train, we must offer competitive wages that show we value their work. Now let's talk about staffing. Nurses are the backbone of patient care, and safe staffing is critical. Right now, the hospital has not agreed to a proposal that considers acuity and intensity in determining nurse-to-patient ratios. Every patient is different, and the complexity of care that is required varies from patient to patient. Yet we are often asked to care for more patients that is safe or reasonable. When we have too many patients, patient safety is at risk, and then nurse well-being is at risk, which then puts one's license at risk. We need enough nurses to respond to patients' needs in real time, ensuring that we can deliver the level of care that our patients expect and deserve. This isn't just a matter of numbers on a page. It's about patient outcomes, nurse well-being, and staff retention. We're not asking for the impossible. We are asking for what is fair. Fair wages that reflect the skill and dedication required of us, fair staffing levels that allow us to do our jobs safely and effectively. And without these critical components, we will continue to see experienced nurses leave. And when they leave, so does the institutional knowledge and the patient trust that we've built over years of hard work. We want to stay. We want to continue serving our communities with the excellence we've always strived for. But we need the hospital leadership to understand. If you want us to stay, we need you to come to the negotiating table and work with us for real solutions and reflect the concerns that I just talked about. We're asking for fair and equitable solutions to these problems, not just for the sake of our nurses, but for the sake of the hospital's future and the health of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. And next, I'd like to introduce Richard Botterill, who is a nurse with Providence Portland. In June of 23, Providence Portland went on strike for a week. And they, along with Providence Seaside, settled their contract in August of the same year. But that contract expired 10 days ago, and they're back here again. Richard.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Gina. As Anne said, my name is Richard Botterill. I'm an emergency room nurse at Providence Portland, where I'm also privileged to be chair of the bargaining team, and I'm also a member of the ONA Board of Directors. This morning, I scrapped the words I was going to use today. They were important, talking about how what we are doing today is only possible because of the work that has gone before us, with nurses who have gone before us within the union, and how what we are doing today is driven by our commitment to improving the quality of healthcare for our patients and the communities that we serve, and how what we are doing today is to strengthen the foundation for the nurses that will follow us to provide quality care for our children and our children's children, and as a grandfather, our children's children's children. I was going to talk about what makes the actions we are taking today different than before. Because nurses at all 8 Providence hospitals and the Providence Women's Clinic are working together to stand up to a company that places profits before patients, rather than patients before profits. It is different today because we are joined by the physicians and practitioners many of us work with as a team who are taking action for the same reasons, the reasons you've just heard Gina talk about. Then, while drinking my coffee this morning, I started to read comments from my sister and brother nurses around Providence, and it was clear that their words convey better than mine the reasons for taking the actions we are taking today. So I thought I would read some for you. From a nurse who has worked for Providence for 24 years. I wanted to work for a company with values. It had values in 2000. It no longer lives its mission. I got a $1,000 bonus the first year I was a nurse. That was every year. Now the CEO and the C-suite get the bonuses, and we get nothing. We used to pay $10 copays and $500 deductible. My deductible for my family is $6,300. We used to have a pension. That is gone. We used to have sick time and vacation, not paid time off. When you got sick, you had sick time, not your vacation or unpaid. We were respected. We have lost so much. They will continue to whittle all our benefits away until we have nothing. And this from a nurse who started in 2001. I was always happy to come to work and felt like I worked for the best hospital system in the state. Our patients raved about the care they received, and we knew it was superior. How have we fallen so hard? Maybe if they had never cared or acted like they care, we wouldn't feel like we have lost so much. They have shown us who they are and what we can expect. We must protect ourselves and our families. This strike needs to happen, or every single contract expiration will look like this in the future. And finally, from a nurse of 23 years. I've given 23 years to Providence. It used to be a great place to work. I used to be proud to work there. But now here I am having to fight not only for a decent contract, but against deceitful practices of a corporate oligarch that doesn't care about any of us. Here's the truth. Providence is a huge corporation whose only concern is its profits, not its patient welfare, not its employees, not the community, not healthcare, not anything but its power and profits. No one wants to strike, but the fact that Providence has driven its employees to this point cannot be denied, and this strike is just the inevitable result of Providence's long-time disregard for its employees and the community they supposedly serve. So we have always been ready and prepared to bargain and work towards a solution that will avoid the need to strike, as Anne said. Unfortunately, Providence management has not been as willing, even though they publicly state that their goal is to avoid a strike. Their actions do not match their words. Providence has refused to meet with us and bargain in good faith. This lack of action is detrimental to the well-being, health, and care of our patients and the communities we serve, and an indication of Providence's preference for a model of healthcare that prioritizes profits over patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for sharing the words from your colleagues. Next is Dr. Robin Richards, who is a board-certified physician specializing in obstetrics and gynecology at Providence Women's Clinic. The Women's Clinic is bargaining their first contract, and they have been at the table since November of 2023.
Good afternoon. Thank you all so much. As Anne said, my name is Robin Richards, and I'm a board-certified physician, and I specialize in obstetrics and gynecology at the Providence Women's Clinic at St. Vincent's Hospital. Thank you all for being here. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to speak on the eve of this possible strike. Since I started working at Providence in 2020, one thing has been clear. Providence is growing. On the west side of Portland, Providence, since I've been there 4.5 years, has opened women's clinics in Beaverton and Hillsborough in response to the community's needs, which has led to us having hundreds more prenatal patients from these new outposts streaming into St. Vincent's Labor and Delivery Unit every year. As a result, my colleagues and I at the Women's Clinic have worked together with Providence leadership to massively scale up multiple services to meet the demands of these increasing patient volumes. We've been collaborative, we've advocated for our patients, and my colleagues and I at the Women's Clinic have driven significant improvements in our efficiencies and our patient throughput while maintaining a focus on quality, safety, excellence, and innovation. We take our responsibility to care for a very large and growing proportion of Oregonian women and their families very seriously. And as Providence aspires to grow, and as we scale up our services and our throughput, we on the front lines are experiencing increasingly strained and dangerous working conditions. There has been a complete stagnation in our staffing strategy and the compensation models. Great providers have left our teams for better contracts locally, right here in the Portland metro area. And we've been unable to recruit and retain new physicians to the extent that we need to keep pace with the growth. We truly cannot function without our clinic nurse practitioners, without our clinic nurse midwives, and without our clinic nurses. And the same thing is happening to those teams. Our compensation model is simply not competitive, and it is not being scaled in alignment with Providence growth. We are caring for a growing volume of patients with a shrinking professional staff. Without making any meaningful change to this staffing strategy right now, incentivizing good providers to join our team and to stay for a long time, we worry deeply for the safety of our patients and our community moving forward. My bottom line here is that if Providence would like to achieve this aspiration of growth safely, we need to come together to modernize and scale the staffing and compensation strategy, and we need to do it right now. If we fail, there are clear implications to patient safety, and we as physicians have the responsibility to take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Richards. Powerful words. Now I'd like to introduce the Reverend Dr. David Wheeler. Reverend Wheeler is part of Portland Jobs with Justice Faith Labor Community. He's spent many years speaking and preaching about the injustices and the labor movement. He has been very active in various ONA events, and we're pleased that he's able to be here and join us today.
Thank you for the kind introduction. And I want to say to the speakers who preceded me, I'm awed by your eloquence and your passion. You actually took some of the thunder out of what I wish to say, which is a good thing. So I am the Reverend Dr. David Wheeler. I'm a pastor and professor of theology and ethics in the Baptist tradition of Christianity. And I've already heard this afternoon what was to be my very first point, but I'll just repeat it. This is not simply a struggle about dollars and cents. It's not simply a struggle about positive working conditions. It is that, but it is also a moral struggle. And dare I say, it's a spiritual struggle. And this is particularly clear when we take just a moment to reflect upon the history and tradition of Providence Health Services. They trace their heritage to Mother Joseph and the Sisters of Providence, who were founding hospitals on the West Coast in California and Oregon and adjoining states as early as 1854. And still, if you go to one of the Providence hospitals, you will see pictures on the wall reflecting that history. And the hospital still, the health services still represent themselves as a nonprofit helping service. And in the words that I take directly from their website, their mission is an expression of God's healing love as witnessed through the ministry of Jesus. And it is a commitment to serve all, especially the most vulnerable. But the commitment to serve all, especially the most vulnerable, is impossible unless there is sufficient staffing and folks who are rested, supported, alert, and performing to 100% of their capacity because of having fair hours and working conditions. They can't fulfill that commitment to serve. And also, it's almost, dare I say, a mockery to talk about Providence Health Systems being an expression of God's healing love as witnessed through the ministry of Jesus. A man who walked barefoot with the poorest of the poor. A man who gave his very life for the well-being of the marginalized, and whose central teaching was the arrival of what he called the kingdom of God, which was a realm where all lived together, helping and serving one another and having everything that they need. And if you have a multi-billion-dollar corporation whose top tier of executives all make seven-figure salaries, and if you mask your profits by growing a multi-billion-dollar, quote, endowment, unquote, then it almost seems a mockery when compared to that original tradition, serving the vulnerable, expressing God's healing love as reflected in Jesus, which still appears on their website. If the nurses and physicians and other healthcare professionals who offer these services to people who need them, if they are stretched out so thinly, if they are at the breaking point of being able to function when they're on their jobs and being able to enjoy and take advantage of their lives at home, then they cannot fulfill that mandate which Providence publicly proclaims is their purpose for being. So I simply want to say At root, this is a moral and even a spiritual struggle. And I think about a famous quote associated with Martin Luther King Jr. The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. So medical professionals, friends and colleagues, keep the faith, because, dare I say it? I will, because I'm a theologian. God is on your side. Now I got one more thing to say, and this is more personal. My wife Carol and I both receive our primary care, have our primary care physicians at Providence, and we have experienced kindness, care, and skill from Providence staff. But as the preceding speakers have said, Providence cannot retain those staff, cannot keep them working at the level at which they should work if they are not respected, compensated, and put in a position where they can do their work. Finally, we've talked about dollars and cents, and we should, but this is a moral issue. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Reverend. And thank you for your support and the outpouring of community support that we have received. Nearly 5,000 Oregon caregivers working in 8 Providence hospitals and 6 clinics, from Medford to Newburgh, from Hood River to the Portland metropolitan area. We are united to transform standards in the largest healthcare system in the Northwest. And finally, I want all patients to know that if you need care, please get care. Providence is responsible for taking care of you. Now, our union represented caregivers will prefer to be there for you, but the Providence executive's refusal to continue to meet with us has forced us onto the strike picket line in order for us to advocate for you, for our communities, and for our colleagues. Thank you.